all
sir.
of you have been trying to join and then it got now connection. Okay, right. Today we'll start. Hello, good morning, all of you. Today we'll start our unit 5, Emma. Okay, by Jane Austen. Can anyone of you read biography of Jane Austen? Hello. Yes. Hello. 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 Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please, can anyone of you read Jane Austen's biography? Emma. Emma will start today. Jane Austen's biography, please. Hello.
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, very good morning. Start the biography of Jane Austen. Read that.
Yes, sir. Birth
Yeah.
and early life of Jane Austen. Jane Austen was born on December 16, 1775, in Staventon, Hampshire, England. She was not widely known in her own name, but gained popularity after 1869, and it skyrocketed in 20th century. Her well-known works are Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility, Emma, Northanger Abbey, and so on. Jane Austen was the seventh child and second daughter of Cassandra and George Austen. Her parents were well reputed community members. Her father was an Oxford educated rector for a nearby Anglican parish. Though not very affluent, the entire family was well educated. Jane Austen, in her own words, says that they were they were great novel readers and not ashamed of being so. Though educated at home, Jane started creative writing at a very early age. At the age of 14, she had written plays, home theatricals, satirical, burlesque, and nonsense stories. Over the over the span of her life, Jane would become especially close to her father and older sister, Cassandra. In fact, she and Cassandra collaborated on the published work. Jane and Cassandra were sent to board schools during Jane's pre-adolescence. Unfortunately, Jane and her sister caught typhus. With the Jane nearly succumbing to the illness, the financial constraints made them soon return home, and finally they lived with the family henceforth. Sir, literary works also should read? Hello.
Can you hear me? Yeah, can you hear me? Yeah,
Yes, sir.
hello. Yeah, so
Yes,
here,
sir.
all of you come to know about Jane Austen's family background, as well as the way how she had that commitment to, generate the idea of the literature as a creative writer. As and when you look into that, she wrote 6 novels, and out of 6, 3 were published posthumously. So here, all the novels of Jane Austen's shows that the way how she had that kind of commitment, as well as creative force in her life to become a popular writer. So when you look at all these, then she shows that the whatever her novels are with this kind of all these aspects of literary efforts of her own. So here she had that kind of fame and that kind of name, and her whatever the association with this kind of creative writing reflects the characteristic features of each and every novel. As and when you look at the way how she wrote about the everyday mundane world around her, she remarked once, "I could no more write a romance than an epic." poem. So here, she had that kind of observation as an outsider and insider of family as well as the society, and then she wishes to show that kind of everyday mundane world around her, each and every aspects of her life, and then whatever she had that kind of association, and then she says that I could no more write a romance than an epic poem. So here you can see that how her novels are all with this kind of epic centered, as well as making sense of that mundane world. And then here you can see that each and every day is a creative day for her to have the kind of collection of memories. Here, the background of this Emma will see the way this Emma has a plot involving 3 or 4 families in a country village. So it has the kind of background of a country village, and here the 3 and 4 families. Incidents are commonplace based on the social activity and daily life of ordinary people. So here the whatever the 3 and 4 families of this Emma are with the ordinary life, social activity, and here the novel is exceptional is the psychological insight into human nature, and the powerful vision with which human behavior is portrayed by the author. So here in a day-to-day life and mundane world, we all know that how human beings are all with their color, with their originality, as well as reality of life. So as and when you look at all the portrayal of the characters of these 3 and 4 families are all from that kind of source of everyday mundane world, and it will make the sense of that human nature. And the author had that kind of touch of reflection of each and every day, as well as mundane world around her, with that kind of authentic experience. So here it has that kind of rhetorical extravagance, and by replacing it with ironic understatement, and here she depicts the most complex and vital aspects of human feelings with sensitivity and taste. So here it draws and undraws our observation, because it sensitizes, and it will generate that kind of human feeling. So here Emma speaks that the novel is with this kind of background, and here she that kind of declaration: I am going to take a heroine whom no one but myself will much like. So here she is making sense of that her emphasis of her own life. She also confessed that readers might feel Emma is inferior in wit when compared to Pride and Prejudice, and inferior in good sense when compared to Mansfield Park. In spite of these observations on the part of the novelist, here you can see that it has that kind of criticism by the critics that Jane Austen's novels achievement as one of the most perfect novelists of English literature. So here she had received that kind of name and fame, and the way how her novels are all dealing with this kind of mundane world and everyday of each and every aspects of human nature. So here when you look at that how this novel deals all these aspects of the powerful feelings of human beings and human nature. So here we have the characters of this novel, and as we know that here we have the 3 to 4 families of that country village. First we'll see that the each and every character, and then we'll come to the thematic concerns of this novel. So first, Emma is the daughter of a gentleman of wealth and consequence. Emma is handsome and clever and rich. She has a comfortable home. She is like a princess, superior to all her companions in her duty. So here you look at that how the way here the portrayal of the Emma is making sense of that. Naturally she is with that kind of whatever her life with this kind of all these aspects. So here Emma wants her things to happen in her own way, and she has a disposition to think too well of herself. So here you can see that the way how she is an individual of her own choice, and whatever she wishes, she wishes to see in her life. So here Emma is richly multi-dimensional character, but not very enduring one. That is why Jane Austen knew that I am going to take a heroine whom nobody by myself will much like. Emma makes three major mistakes. First, she tries to make Harriet the wife of a gentleman. Harriet's social position makes her better suited to be the wife of that farmer who loves her. Emma gives the impressions that she likes Frank Churchill, even though she does not care for him. So here, when you look at her follies of whatever her life, and with this kind of all these blunders and all. So here she is in love, and wants to marry Mr. Knightley, but she is unaware of this at the conscious level. So here, when you look at the way how she had committed the blunders in her life, and it is a reflection of all these whatever the concerns of her life. So here, when you look at Emma and other women in the novel, helps us to evaluate her character. Here she is privileged, and here Jane Austen's sister Isabella is feminine. So here Emma is independent and intelligent woman. So when you look at that Emma Woodhouse character from this kind of background, then you can understand how it is making sense of all these aspects of her whatever the lifestyle. Emma's misplaced confidence in her abilities as a matchmaker and her fear of love is a central focus of the novel. So here, the central focus of the novel is whatever her expectations and failures, as well as mistakes, and here the central focus of the novel is that fear of love. Okay, here which traces Emma's mistakes and growing self-understanding. The style of narration creates a complex mixture of sympathy for Emma and criticism for her behavior. So here you can see that the way how she expects, and if it will not be matched with her expectations. So here you can see that the drawbacks of her life with this kind of failures, and she has that kind of nature of matchmaking and all. Now we'll come to the second character. Can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah, first one is Emma Woodhouse, and here we have seen that her individuality as an intelligent and then how she has that kind of nature of matchmaker, as well as she has that kind of fear of love, and it is the central focus, central theme of the novel. Now we'll come to the second character. George Knightley is the brother of John King Knightley, Emma's brother-in-law. So here you can see the second character, John Knightley, and who is brother-in-law of Emma, and he is Mr. Woodhouse, a trusted friend and advisor. Knightley in his late in the 30s, a sensible country gentleman who had known Emma from her cradle. He was the person, only one person, and who found fault with Emma. So here you can see that the conversation with Emma, he corrects her excesses and tries to prevent her overstepping the bounds of civility. So here you look at the good relation between George Knightley and Emma Woodhouse from their childhood days. So here George Knightley always tries to console her whenever she commits blunders in her life, and she had that kind of attachment with him from her tender years, and then Emma is frequently interrupted by him in her attempts in arranging marriages. So here he is honest and kind-hearted. He is the epitome of good sense. He is a good judge of character. Usually he can provide the correct evaluation of the other characters' behavior and personal worth. So here you can see that George Knightley, who is a good Samaritan, philanthropist, who loves the human beings without any kind of second thought. So he is a person with this kind of personality that to judge the characters and to console them. So like that, here you can see how Emma had that kind of person in her life from her childhood days. So always you can see this kind of conversation between them, that the way how George Nitley is with this kind of stand of correcting the people. And now we'll come to the another character. Frank Churchill is Mr. Weston's son and Mr. Weston's stepson. So he lives with his uncle and aunt and Mr. Churchill. So here, when you look at these characters of these three or four families, and then here the novel is the reflection of everyday and mundane world around her, and the way how here each and every character is making sense of all these whatever the everyday aspects. So here Frank Churchill, who is with this kind of that whatever the nature of is then here you can see as a potential suitor for Emma. The community accepts him and everyone accepts Nitley is charmed by him. He is a complex character who most resembles Emma. Like Emma, Frank develops over the course of the novel from a vain and superficial person to one who has learned to be humble due to the experience of suffering and love. He is liked more than he deserves to be liked. So here, Frank Churchill is a person with this kind of whatever his expectations of his life, and then you can understand how he is with this kind of complex features of this kind of background. So here, when you look at all these into this third character with this kind of complexity, and then attachment with the Emma, and then we'll move to another character, that is here Jane Fairfax. She is Miss Bates' niece, and her beauty and accomplishment make her stand out, and her arrival in Highbury irritates Emma. Jane rivals Emma in accomplishments and beauty. She has a kind heart and is reserved by temperament. So here you can see that Jane Fairfax as how she is with this kind of her characteristic features. So here Jane lacks a fortune, therefore must consider employment as governess, from which fate her marriage to Frank and Churchill saves her. Jane harbors someone secret sorrow, and she and Emma eventually become friends, and the revelation of Jane's secret engagement to Frank makes her more human. Her sense of propriety and morality and the passionate nature of her feelings is not completely explored in the course of the novel. Her role is more as a foil to the protagonist. So here you can see that how men and women relation, as well as woman to woman relationship. As here you can see that how it's a brilliant masterpiece, and to study the character of Emma in this novel, that how she had that kind of whatever the attachment, as well as the reflections of everyday life, as well as the way how that mundane world around her. So here, when you look at all these, then you can understand how that three and four families of that village with this kind of lifestyle, as well as the way to understand Jane Austen's novel, are all with this kind of attachment of the people, as well as the proposals of marriage, and then how men and women shows that kind of interest with that kind of all these aspects. So here, when you look at all these levels of conversations between Emma and Nitley, as well as all the whatever the other aspects of parties and all. So here one of the aspects of this novel is parties. Party going, attending parties, and then it is a central motif of the novel. So like that, here you can see that the novel is with this kind of simple, lucid, and comfortable, and Jane Austen's style is subtle use of irony and satire. So here, when you look at the characteristic features of everyday life of that village, and then here she wants to show that kind of whatever the realization of human life with this kind of follies, misunderstandings, or expectations from this kind of whatever the imaginary world for day-to-day life. So sometimes what happens here the people with this kind of whatever the self-realization, and then the way to understand that the characteristic features are all with this kind of complexity, to understand that how here the novelist had tried to mock at that characters, and how she generates the idea of the satire and irony. So here, when you look at all these, the way to understand, Jane Austen points, out that using any unpleasantness, Emma's final painful self-realization is not put in any nasty or unacceptable manner. So here she wants to say that each and every character which calls spade it vivid, and it's whatever the deal with this kind of use of the language of everyday speech presents a reality which she is familiar with. So here, when you look at the way how the village family with this kind of all these aspects and all of that whatever the lifestyle. So here, when you look at all these into that, then the use of the language and symbols of affection, and the people concern, all these are all with this kind of novel to understand how there was a satire, humor, irony, and here the style that how she generates the idea of the humor in each and every characters. She shows that kind of reality of that village background, and with this kind of family relationship, as well as men and women and the marriage, as well as how it is making with this kind of complexity. So when you look at all these, then you can understand how this novel is with this kind of stand of each and every aspect. So here the novel is with this kind of background and characteristic features, and here the plot of the novel. Mr. Woodhouse, a propertied gentleman living on his estate, Hartfield, located in Highbury, a town 16 miles from London, has two daughters, Isabella and Emma. So here the family of Mr. Woodhouse shows that the way how their background, and how he is gentleman, and he has the these two daughters. One is Isabella and Emma. Isabella married to John Mithley and lives in London with her husband and two children. Emma, the younger daughter, lives with her father and takes care of his household. The novel begins with the following description of the protagonist. So we have seen that two daughters of Mr. Woodhouse and the other characters of this novel, and the beginning of this description of the protagonist here. Emma Woodhouse, handsome, clever, and rich, with a comfortable home and happy disposition, seemed to unite some of the best blessings of existence, and had lived nearly 21 years in the world with very little to distress or vex her. So here the description makes the protagonist very likable, and but leaves out any mention of her interfering nature. The entire plot of the novel revolves around her, how Emma tries to arrange the lives of others without any encouragement from them. So here you can see that the way how she is a matchmaker, and always she is with this kind of making fun of herself and others, as well as creating that kind of humor. And then you can understand how it focuses on that kind of all the human relationships of each and every aspect of our everyday life. So when you look at all these, then you can understand how it is making sense of our ground reality of the contemporary society. Here you can see that George Nitley is a rich bachelor and owner of Downwell and Abbey and the largest estate in the district. A neighbor of the Woodhouse family, he is the elder brother of Emma's brother-in-law John. So here we can see that how Emma's family had attachment with the neighbors and then family friends, and like that, she had that kind of close observation with each and every aspect. So here, when you look at the way how John Nickley is associated with Emma's family, and he is a well-wisher of the Woodhouse family, and he is always available to aid and advise them. And here you can see he is a good person, and how she Emma had that kind of friendly attachment with him, with George Nickley, and always he tries to construct the idea of that goodness in her as a human being. So here Emma holds her in genuine affection. So here the way how the novel opens on the day of Emma's erstwhile governess and companion, Miss Annie Taylor, gets married to Mr. Weston, a rich and lonely widower, and lives in Mr. Woodhouse in the home. So Emma considers this union to be her first successful attempt at the matchmaking, and resolves to continue arranging the marriages of all eligible youngsters around her. So here you can see that, and how she is the matchmaker, and with that kind of whatever the follies of her own, and she generates the idea of the humor, and one of her first victims is the young rector of Hartfield, Mr. Elton, who secretly nourishes the ambitious hope of securing Emma's hand in marriage. Oblivious of his, Emma thinks that the 7-year-old Harriet Smith, 17-year-old Harriet Smith, parlor and boarder at Mr. and Mrs. Goddard School, will be an ideal wife for him. Harriet is interested in Robert Martin, a tenant and a farmer of Mr. George Nickley. Robert has an easy-going nature and pleasing manners. Emma dissuades and her from pursuing this attachment, and instead pushes her towards Mr. Elton. George Nickley tells Emma not to engage in his matchmaking efforts because her meddling may prove dangerous. Harriet's origins are unknown, and she is suspected of being the illegitimate child of a rich man. Mr. Nickley thinks that Robert Martin is a more suitable man for Harriet. When Emma refuses to listen to him, and he asks Mr. Weston, who has her closest confidant before marriage, to caution her. So here you can see that the novel is around the matchmaker Emma, and how she had that kind of whatever her concerns of all these everyday life, and how she had that kind of target of matchmaking, and Mr. Ridley had tried to console her whenever she commits blunders, and here the way how Emma became with this kind of laughing stock in terms of the matchmaking. So when you look at all these, then the way how this novel is with this kind of humor, irony, satire, and here the relationships of marriage with social status, and the power of imagination, and the limited role of women in society. And here, when you look at all these, then you can understand how it is with this kind of whatever the communication barriers of of men and women, like that. Here marriage was one of the main ways in which one could raise one's social status. Social status was determined by family background, reputation, and wealth. This method of social advancement was crucial to women. So here you can see that how Emma is making sense of this kind of marriage in a family as well as in society. Without marriage, there will not be any kind of social status to men and women, like that. Here you can see how the novel is ironically and satirically making sense of that whatever the village background family is with this kind of relationship of the marriage and society. So when you look at Jane Austen, how she has been trying to mock at all these drawbacks of the whatever the false consciousness or false prestige of the family as well as the society, as well as in terms of the marriage. So here when you look at Emma is structured around a number of marriages. In each case, the marriage solidifies the social status of the women. Since women were denied the opportunity during this time to improve their status through hard work or personal achievement, they had to fall back on marriage. So here, when you look at if the women do not have the individuality or whatever the personality of her own, for instance, an employee, if she is not an employee, then she has to go for the marriage, because she has to rely on a man. Like that, here, Jane Austen had tried to generate the idea of the individuality with this kind of whatever the uncompromised nature of women with the marriage and social status. So here you can see that how the novel suggests that marrying too far above oneself may cause hardship for both husband and wife. Mr. Weston's first marriage to Mr. Churchill was good for him, but not for her. So like that, here you can see how these whatever the proposals as well as the relationship with this kind of whatever the social status and family, as well as that individuality, how it will, with this kind of complexity, to understand that social statuses are equal, then marriage is harder. So here, when you look at all these from this kind of background, that equality with the social status, not with the good nature or education or any kind of thing which will have that kind of consideration of the equality. But here the social status is more than anything comparing with the education or employment or any other thing. So like that, here the way how she is trying to generate the idea of the irony of the marriage. Why should social status? Why not that kind of good nature or education or any kind of thing which shows that kind of human values. So here she is trying to counter argue against the social status social status in making the marriages, in arranging the marriages. So here, why a woman should show her interest to have the equal status in terms of the marriage. So here, when you look at that Frank Churchill's engagement to the Harpen and Fairfax, and Jane Fairfax was kept a secret because she did not have any social status, and Frank's wealthy aunt would disapprove of this match. So here, if you look at this kind of whatever the barriers of human relationships of the contemporary society, because of the richness and power, or wealthy, or that could be any kind of social status, may not show that kind of humanity. Here she wishes to portray the character here, Frank Churchill, who hides his marriage with an orphan, because that orphan does not have any orphan here, Jane Fairfax, does not have any kind of wealth or social status equally with Frank Churchill. So here, when you look at this kind of marriages, hiding with this kind of reality, then what is the use of the marriage? So here, marriage does not mean that to have the equal status. It should have the human concern, irrespective of rich or family or any kind of background. So here Emma's that kind of social realization with this kind of barriers of richness and social status, and here you can understand that novel is making sense of all these aspects of the marriage, as well as the relationship between the men and women, as well as limited role of women in society. So here the power of imagination also had portrayed in this novel, that to understand how the series of realizations of each and every character and judgment. Here Emma cannot understand Mr. Elton behavior because she thinks that he is in love with Harriet. Emma's behavior makes Mr. Hilton assume that she is offering him an encouragement. Emma is jealous of Jane's accomplishments, and this makes her imagine that Jane is secretive and ill-bred. So here you can see that Emma as a matchmaker between Harriet and Frank, and how Harriet is actually in love with Nitley. So like that, here you can see that power of imagination in terms of men and women, and how the narrator allows us to see many of the misunderstandings of the characters with the admirable use of ironic imagination. So one loves the another, and the other one loves triangle love. So here Harriet actually wants to marry Frank, and she here she is in love with Nitley. So like that, here Emma is aiming at Nitley. Like that, each and every aspect of this imagination shows that the way how it is admirable use of ironic imagination. So when you look at all these, then you can understand how the all the whatever the status of marriage and all with this kind of false consciousness and power of imagination, and then it is an irony of each and every aspect of the novel. So like that, here you can see how women are with this kind of stand up limited whatever their role in terms of all these. So here Isabella existence shows that a mother's life and has no use of use for intellect. So here Emma's sister Isabella, who marries a man, and she does not have any kind of intellectuality as well as individuality. So here you can see the role of a woman is with this kind of marriage and commitments of the family. So here the heart of the novel shows marriage as a crucial because through it women can change their destiny. So here when you look at the pros and cons of the marriage, and then here you can understand how Emma is making sense of ambiguity of the marriage or the human relations, or else you can understand that kind of is it the individuality, or is it the compromise of the individuality. And here when you look at all these, then you can see how the novel is making sense of all these whatever the aspects of our everyday life of that village, and of that three families. And then here you can see the levels of communication are discussed in the novel. The impact of the social standing on a person's ability to express himself or herself is a significant point. Emma can easily say what Jane or Harriet cannot dream of saying. Emma's actions speak of her being well born, and while the other two young ladies suffer due to their lack of the same standing in society. With curtails the power of expression, Jane is seen as secretive, not because she is really so, but her natural reason is taken to be in your snobbishness. So here you can see the way how the wealthy and social status people are with this kind of stand up the communication without any kind of barriers of their family background. So when you look at the other side of the women with this kind of family background, they cannot communicate with others because of their family and social background. So when you look at the barriers of the communication, not only language, here the family as well as the social status. So when you look at all these in terms of the family and the society, then you can understand how Emma has been trying to expose multiple aspects from this kind of self versus society, and individuality versus the family, as well as the society. Like that, here each and every aspect of this novel shows that Jane Austen had that kind of authentic experience of her personal life, and how the marriage is a barrier, and how it is making sense of one's realization or identity for that social status. So here if one lacks the individuality and the financial independence, one has to marry someone else. So like that, here in case of the woman, the marriage is social status, and here it is with this kind of whatever the family and the background of the other aspects to have the match. So here the matchmaker Emma always trying to bring all these aspects of the men and women relationships, as well as to understand that how human beings are with their behavior with that kind of natural and the way how Emma had tried to look at all these aspects of that whatever the private and public life, as well as the family and the society. So here the novel with this kind of whatever Hemma is with this kind of whatever her personal life, and how she wants to make sense of her individuality, and how it is with this kind of whatever the other aspects of the men and women. So when you look at all these, then you can understand how here Emma by Jane Austen is making sense of all these aspects, that how that background of that family as well as the society, and in a village that way how human relations are with this kind of social status. So for a marriage, social status is important, or the education, or that kind of employment, or what. So here the question of individuality in family and society, and in terms of the marriage, what should be to have that kind of whatever the human concerns. So here she had tried to look at that society with this kind of day every day mundane world, and the way how that society is with this kind of all the whatever the inhuman inhuman qualities of men and women. And here how she is looking at the marriage to have the equal status and all like that. Here how it is ironically making fun of the real world and the human nature of men and women. So here it generates that kind of humor to accept our follies with this kind of realization. So here the way how Jane Austen had tried to look at all these aspects from her whatever the personal and social background, to understand all these aspects from this kind of background, that how a woman with this kind of limitations of her life, and then how her life is spoiled because of family commitments, because she will lose her individuality, and she commits whatever all these blunders sometimes. So like that, here each and every aspect of this novel is making sense of the way to understand Jane Austen's vision should be in any way affected by Emma's whatever her blindness. So here sometimes Macy Bradley is one of the politics. Here he says there are two distinct strains in Jane Austen. She is a moralist and humorist. She is a moralist and humorist. So she generates that kind of reflections of each and every aspect of the real world with the human nature, and she wants to correct that kind of follies or whatever the inhuman nature of the men and women with this kind of moral values. These strains are often blended or even completely fused, but still they may be distinguished. Her morality is not merely embodied in her plots, it is often openly expressed. Her explicit statements and comments are often well worth pondering, though their terminology is sometimes old-fashioned, and though her novels contain infinitely more wisdom than they formulate. So here, A.C. Broadley had, tried to comment that way to understand the way how Jane Austen had tried to construct the social reality in terms of the family, society, individuality, marriage, and here as and when she had that kind of touch of the village, but she had tried to bring to the notice of the modern world how she is making sense of that kind of village with this kind of follies and realization of their own. So here one of the other critics suggests that this is the novel of character, and of character alone, and of one dominating character in particular. And many a rash reader, and some who are not rash, have been shut out on the threshold of Emma's comedy by a dislike of Emma herself. So here she is the matchmaker, and she has to face the music of the family and the society, and because of her immature nature, she judges the people, and she always tries to fix the marriages with others, and generates the idea of the humor. So one of the critics also says that the characteristic rhythm of Emma is one of approach and withdrawal and external confrontation of wills, followed by personal assessment. Emma is the commanding center of this design, but this does not mean that her point of view is to be ours. So whatever she says may not be from our side. It should be for herself, and with that kind of limited whatever the scope of her woman life. So when you look at the way how she points out all the drawbacks of the contemporary society in terms of the marriage and family and individuality, in terms of the women in the family. So when you look at her sister Isabella, who had the family commitments, does not have any kind of intellectual and individuality. And here Emma shows that how women have that kind of limited scope to have their role in the family, and then they do not have any kind of their individuality or liberty to do whatever they want. So here in you in your understanding this novel from ambiguity of that Jane Austen's whatever the exposure of the marriage and the individuality of Emma shows that maybe from one point of time that she had that kind of whatever the concerns of the human values, how she should show the way to morality, as well as that kind of ethical values of the human life without any kind of social status to have the equality. But here the society is with this kind of all these whatever the barriers of men and women relationships, as well as the marriage. So here she is the critique of that kind of whatever the hurdles of the human relations because of the social status. So here she wants to construct the idea of the morality in this novel, that to say how her whatever the realization of the self as an individual woman, and as well as a matchmaker, and then realization of all these multiple aspects of that background of the family as well as the village. Then she wants to construct the idea of the morality with this kind of humor, irony, and satire. So when you can see that Jane Austen had tried to look at all these aspects from the men and women point of view, as well as social status, and the way how we have to look at our human life without any kind of social status, whether it is wealthy family background or else any kind of social status. So irrespective of their family and social background, one should have the morality in terms of the marriage, and it should not be broken because of the social taboos or these kind of barriers of all the whatever their family and social background. So here Emma is making sense of that way to understand how Jane Austen had tried to look at the society as an insider and outsider, as an individual as well as a creative writer, to look at the novel from this kind of socio-political, economical, and cultural aspects, to portray the characters from this kind of society where the source of the human nature with this kind of men and women. So when you look at all these, that the way to understand how Jane Austen's novels are all with this kind of stand of the social realization, and all these novels are all with this kind of whatever concerns of the human life. So when you look at all the novels of Jane Austen's, shows that her contribution to words, not only the literature, to construct the social reality and human values in the contemporary society. So when you look at all these, then you can understand how Jane Austen had emerged as an individual to portray the characters from different backgrounds, to understand that society without any kind of whatever the barriers of family and social status. So here we should be free from this kind of barriers to have the kind of human values in terms of the marriage. So with this, I wish to conclude that here Emma is the reflection of our contemporary society, as we know that literature is a mirror of society. So we hello.
Sir,
Hello.
we are here, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Are you able to follow my lecture?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So thank you, and we'll see in next class the another topic tomorrow. Okay. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
கவர்ல போட்டு அங்க அந்த ரூம்குள்ள வச்சுடு. அவர் 4 மணிக்கு